Carol,
Yes.
I loved your introduction. Well done in terms of also bringing in your name, so it makes it memorable for someone in the audience, so that if they want to bring you back in, they know last name's Ring. Makes it easy to remember, so that was brilliant. Well done. I love the languaging that you've used in terms of the imagery of, design and fuel. Those are the two pieces that you need, and you kept on referring back to that and leveraging that in your presentation. And the way in which you ask questions every time after you presented a major point, like the last one I was writing down furiously to make sure that I could repeat it for you, was the piece about, are you doing something that creates the sludge in your corporate fuel? Great tie-in of the imagery back to what does it mean to me as an individual and a participant in the group. So, love it. Thank you.
I love to poke fun at corporate culture. You are an expert at poking fun at corporate culture, because that's really what it means. With some of the things that with some of the things you can say, a person can connect with an audience very quickly. And when I heard you poke fun at anything, from the gymnasium now to whatever you want to do, that's when I feel, if I'm sitting in your audience, she gets us. She gets me. I can go into corporate environments and I can say a few words, and I will have people say that to me. It's that you've obviously come from the corporate, whatever you say, and that's that connection. And I got that all the way through. And you're masterful in the vocabulary. It's what I would say you had added romance to a very mundane piece of jargon called corporate culture. All right, and that's what I'm looking at, because that's what's going to make it memorable. And I'll leave that with the way you positioned it, right down to the story of Roberto in that case, and he had his meeting. I've had those meetings too, by the way. that with all of those things, you provoke thought by asking questions, and I would leave it as that you ooze credibility. I enjoyed your presentation.
Thank you.
You're going to be able to use this presentation on your website. I mean, this is, to me, was a very brilliant presentation from many, many different aspects. What I usually do is I put, for my feedback, I take a piece of paper and I put a plus sign and a delta sign, draw it down the middle. And this is what there are a few on the flip side, but I had a hard time finding things. I was just writing over on this positive over and over. So to begin with your, again, to reinforce the power of that metaphor that you not only used once, but all the way throughout, and all kinds of linkages, was very, very brilliant. Your gestures are very powerful. You hold them, they're confident. You had a bunch of left and right, 30,000 people, 36 stations. You were going back and forth. Intentional walking, and you'd be silent. When you took those few steps, you paused and let us know something important was coming, and it did.
You set me up.
It was beautiful. Using questions throughout, your 3 key points is class. You can tell that you're trained in public speaking, presentation skills. You've had a few of those sessions, I'm sure.
Okay, yes.
Yeah, everything was just, there's a couple of things on the flip side if there's anything left, but there's not much there. I mean, that's my point. It was good.
Wow, thank you.
Well, something I noticed, and I hadn't noticed it yet this morning, something I noticed is there was a moment when all 3 of us put our pens down and we listened.
Yeah.
I thought, I better make a note. I better make a note that we stop taking notes.
Yeah.
So that changes everything, because now, okay, we want to focus on that, so.
And that comment about, you were talking about your company, this comes from years of experience with Rogers, and then you said, but it's just like yours.
Yeah.
So you really did have a very, very much an audience focus. You brought your expertise, but you were definitely thinking from the skin of the audience, from the shoes of the audience. So you made that connection for them, and lots of examples of that. Yeah, you know your stuff. So.
And
Little do they know.
Now, here's the other side of the comments.
Yeah.
I loved all the humor that you used in many places, and there's so much more that I can comment on that was positive. I would like to suggest that the beginning be a little stronger. You use the phrase top of the heap repeatedly. And to me, that's a common phrase, and it doesn't really fit with your metaphor. I come from living in the country. Top of the heap means a different kind of
Yeah.
heap, and it gives me different kind of images.
Yeah, definitely.
So, and to fit with your piece, I might give you a little piece that you may want to play with, and that is, some people say that corporate culture is not rocket science. Actually, it is rocket
Oh,
science.
brilliant.
And then lead into, design, fuel,
Yeah.
and then play it that way so that you got the metaphor out there really strong right at the beginning, because the top of the heap didn't fit for
Yeah.
me with the rest of what you had.
Brilliant.
And also you referred to the altitude, but I didn't hear you say what's the benefit of the altitude.
Yeah.
Okay, because in some places people would think, okay, I can't breathe when I'm up there. There's certain things. So give me the positive side of wanting to be at that altitude,
Right.
and what is that? How does that fit with the imagery that you've created? And I love. And I know I'm supposed to be focusing on the other side, but I want to add that I love the part where you talked about, you think it might have to do with the fact that we showed up. That was
Fabulous.
brilliant. That was brilliant.
And that's real.
And having
That's
worked
real.
in the
Political
corporate world, anybody who's from corporate in the audience will go, yeah,
Yep.
it's about
She
humans.
gets
We get it. We get it. And you understand where they're at. So I just want to put that out there. So minor
you.
tweaking.
Two things happened. I witnessed your presentation, enjoyed several parts of it, was moved and provoked. Your intro put me to sleep.
Yeah.
You got to do something with that introduction, because if I heard just a couple of snippets of what your presentation, take a couple of jabs in your introduction, that would change it for me. So I would say major surgery on the intro.
So the opening, not the introduction of me.
Oh, I'm sorry. The introducer's words.
Yes.
Yeah,
Change.
that
It was too
introduction.
long.
Yeah,
Oh,
that,
yeah,
that
okay.
put me to sleep.
Yes. Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, oh, this is actually interesting. Because that was, we've trained audiences to expect certain things. We expect, and we just tune out of, because, here's basically an introduction. The common introduction is, well, here's everything I did.
Yeah.
Oh, well, good for you.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm here, and I have to go to my workplace tomorrow, and I have some expectations, so good for you.
Yeah.
Okay. So think about that. I mean, that's, that kind of put me in a place, and I had to catch up again.
Yeah.
Top of the heap, I heard that as well. Look for alternatives. I constantly am searching for alternative language, romantic language, online thesaurus, constantly looking for what are different ways that I could say that, because that's going to penetrate, and that's because you've already got that language. And what kept me, I kept stumbling over that top of the heap because it kept coming back. So, I've heard that, but I like the other part better.
Yeah.
All right, so think about that. And let's see. Images on the screen. Images on the screen. Was wondering. So those you have complete permission and
Yes.
copyright usage. Okay, I just wanted to check that. Okay. I enjoyed your presentation.
Thank you.
Well, the one thing I've got here to talk about in the bottom
hard to be
right-hand corner.
last.
No, it's only because I'm not saying that. I'm saying I could see only wonderful things. It was hard for me to find. But when I'd like to talk about the slide there. One thing I would do is I would switch your two columns, because
Yeah.
the past is to the audience left and the future is to the
Yeah.
audience right.
Yeah.
And if there is, when you popped that slide up, you were saying something, but I didn't hear what you said. So it could have
Okay.
been that it was a very important point you were making. I don't know, because I
Okay.
was paying now attention to the fact that you had directed the focus to the slide. So
Right.
what you want to do when you pop up a slide is you say whatever you need to do to set up the slide, and then you zip it, pop up the slide, up it comes, and then we're not splitting our focus.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so switch those around, and I'm wondering also if you could even, make them a build, because I'm not, again, I'm trying to, I was
much.
kind of lost there
Yeah.
in terms of what I was looking for, and I'd like to almost see some relationship between the two ones, but because client satisfaction doesn't relate to blame.
Right.
Taking responsibility versus blame.
Right.
Internal focus versus client satisfaction.
Right.
Sort for yourself versus teamwork. Something like that.
Right. Okay, yeah.
where there's a relationship between the points, and maybe even make it, from here, you want to go from, like the left
Yeah.
side, if it's the negative part, the limiting to possibility.
Right.
So it's a from and a to.
Yeah,
So I just think that needs to be tightened up a little
yeah,
bit.
perfect, great.
And actually on that slide, I missed the one that was my favorite in my workplace years ago, was backstabbing. That was one, right? Because we had a saying on our floor, it was like, backstabbing. No, it's actually, there's so much backstabbing around here that sometimes we forget and we stab you in the front.
Oh, God.
Whoa, okay. That was fabulous.
Thank you.